I told my 5-year-old nephew he should have been aborted. I said it in my parents' living room in front of my sister. I didn't whisper it. I didn't soften it. I said it because he wouldn't stop running through the hallway while the adults were talking and I was already irritated, and I still sort of believe, that someone needed to say out loud what everyone else was pretending not to think. That's what she tells people about me, that I'm the uncle who said that. She doesn't add that the house was chaos that day. She doesn't add that she had shown up late, dramatic as usual, like her presence alone was a statement. She doesn't add that my parents had spent months cleaning up her mess years ago, while I was the one trying to keep things steady. I was the one who did things the right way. That matters. When she got pregnant at 19 and refused to fix it, it wasn't just her life. It became all of ours. People talked. My wife's parents asked questions. My dad stopped going to certain gatherings for a while, and I was the one who had to sit there and nod and act like our family wasn't suddenly the example. She acts like she was persecuted, like she was some martyr working while pregnant. She never talks about how our parents were humiliated, how I was the one who had to reassure my then-fiancé that this wasn't the kind of family we were. And yes, my wife was treated well when she was pregnant, because that pregnancy came with stability, marriage, a plan, not rebellion dressed up as independence. I didn't hate my nephew. I was frustrated. There's a difference. The kid was loud, grabbing things and knocking over a glass. I snapped. I said what I said, and I expected her to correct him, not pack up like I'd assaulted him. She left, cut me off like I was the problem. Fine. For years she built this little narrative where she's the strong single mom who did it alone, bought a house, taking courses, climbing up, and I was genuinely happy at first. I told people she was doing well. I wasn't jealous. But 2 years ago I sold my house. That was my decision. I wanted to expand construction equipment, contracts, bigger jobs. I calculated it. I wasn't reckless. I thought if I reinvested everything and rented temporarily, we'd scale fast. I've never been afraid of risk. That's how men grow. It didn't work. Machines sat unused longer than projected. One contract fell through, then another. I kept telling my wife it would stabilize. It didn't. Now I'm paying rent on a place smaller than the house I built my family into, watching savings evaporate. My kids hear me on the phone with suppliers. They hear the edge in my voice. My mother came over one night after I'd had too much to drink, and I cried. I'm not ashamed of that. I cried because I felt like I dragged my family backwards. Because I was supposed to be the stable one, and she said the family was collecting money to help, that we don't let our own drown. Then she went to my sister, and my sister said no, not just no. She argued. She compared it to when she was 19, like it's the same. Like investing in a business as a married father is the same as getting pregnant out of spite and daring everyone to deal with it. It's not the same. I told my mother that my sister owns a house, at her age, alone. She could sell it, rent somewhere cheaper, or even move back home for a while. Help me stabilize. We are siblings. That's not insane. When one of us falls, the other steps in. I said if she can't help me directly, she can at least contribute monthly, something. Because family isn't optional when it's inconvenient. My mother told me she called me cruel for bringing up the kids. But what am I supposed to do? Pretend they don't exist. Her son exists. My kids exist. Why is her motherhood sacred and mine transactional? Last Sunday, my mother insisted we all meet. At my parents' house, I knew my sister would come armed with resentment. She's been building it for years. She walked in like she owns the air now. I started talking first. I said I know things were said in the past. I said maybe I was harsh, but I also said she acted like she was some abandoned child. Our parents gave her a roof. She chose pride over apology. She cut in something about how I defended myself when I humiliated a 5-year-old. I told her discipline isn't humiliation. That if she had listened to anyone back then, maybe things wouldn't have escalated. She laughed like I'm ridiculous. I told her straight, you have equity, you have stability. You can restructure your life temporarily to help me. Sell the house, rent, or move back here. You managed before, you can manage again. I'm not asking you to suffer, I'm asking you to stand with your brother. She stared at me like I'd asked for a kidney. My father shifted in his chair but didn't interrupt. My wife sat rigid beside me, not speaking. I could feel her embarrassment, which made me talk faster. I said, when you decided to keep him, we all had to carry that. She said her son was not a burden. I said I didn't say burden. I said consequence. There's a difference. There was this moment where my nephew, 7 now, was in the hallway listening. I saw him. He didn't look scared. He looked confused, and something in me doubled down instead of softened. I said if she wants respect as an adult, she has to act like part of a family, not a separate country. She told me I don't get to demand sacrifice from her after telling her child he shouldn't exist. I said I was frustrated, that adults are allowed to lose their temper. That one sentence doesn't define a man. She said sometimes it does, and I stood up. I don't even remember deciding to. I just stood and told her if she refuses to help, then she shouldn't expect to be treated like my sister anymore, that I won't pretend closeness when there isn't loyalty. My mother started crying. My wife finally spoke and told me to calm down. I said fine. If she won't help voluntarily, then let's be clear that when our parents need something later, when inheritance comes up, when responsibilities are divided, I won't forget this." The room went silent. That wasn't a threat. It was reality. But it landed like one. My sister grabbed her son's hand, said she's done letting me measure family debt, and she left. My father told me I went too far. My mother hasn't called since yesterday. My wife hasn't touched me since Sunday. I don't think I'm wrong about what family means. I don't. But I can feel something shifting, like I might have forced a line that can't be walked back. I just don't know why I'm the only one expected to swallow pride. Continuation. I told my business partner last month that everything was under control. I knew it when I said it. But I've never been the kind of man who admits panic out loud. Not to other men. Not when money is involved. After that dinner at my parents' house, the one where my sister walked out like she just delivered some moral verdict, things didn't just stay tense. They started leaking into everything else. The machines are financed, not owned. That's the part people don't understand when they throw around words like risk. I didn't light cash on fire. I leveraged assets. I took out 2 loans, one through the bank secured against what used to be my house equity before I sold it, and another private one through a guy my partner knew, short-term, higher interest. I calculated the return based on contracts that were verbal but solid. I've been in this industry long enough to know when something's real. Then the contracts stalled. City permits dragged. One developer pulled out because his investors got cold feet. Suddenly, those payment schedules didn't line up the way they were supposed to. My partner, Karam, started getting tight with me. Not loud, just colder. He began asking for weekly breakdowns. He wanted to see every invoice. He used phrases like exposure and liability like we were strangers negotiating instead of 2 men who shook hands on expansion. And here's the thing, he heard about the family fight. I didn't tell him. Someone else did. A cousin's husband works in procurement and mentioned that there was drama around me at a fundraiser. I didn't even know what he meant at first, because yes, there was a fundraiser. I didn't ask for it. My aunt organized it. Dinner tickets, small speeches, people pooling money to support a local family business. I swallowed my pride and showed up because when your income is sliding, pride becomes expensive. My sister came. I didn't expect that. She walked in with that composed face she does now. Not emotional, not loud. She's learnt to weaponize calm. My wife squeezed my hand under the table like she was bracing for impact. During the speeches, my uncle mentioned how family steps up in hard times. It wasn't directed at her, but it hung in the air. When they passed around envelopes, someone half-jokingly asked if everyone had contributed, and she said, very evenly, "I won't financially support someone who told my child he shouldn't exist." The room shifted, not chaotic. Just quiet in a way that makes your skin feel exposed. I felt heat crawl up my neck. My wife went rigid. I said something about frustration, about context, about people twisting a moment, but it didn't matter. The sentence was already out there, clean and digestible. Later that week, Karam asked me if everything was stable at home. Casual tone. But investors don't like instability. He didn't say that part. He didn't need to. So now my business isn't just bleeding because of contracts. It's bleeding because my name feels unstable. And I know she knew that when she said it. A few days after the fundraiser, my oldest asked me why Auntie said I hate kids. He didn't accuse. He asked. Apparently my nephew repeated something at school that his uncle wished he wasn't born. It circled back. Kids talk, parents talk, then it becomes a thing. I told my son that I love kids, that I love him, that sometimes adults say things when they're angry. He nodded, but he didn't look convinced. That bothered me more than the fundraiser. My wife confronted me that night, not about the comment itself, we've argued about that before, but about the inheritance line. She asked me why I brought that up, why I threatened to remember this when our parents divide things later. I told her it wasn't a threat, it was reality. If my sister refuses to act like family now, then responsibilities and benefits don't stay symmetrical forever. My wife asked me if I hear myself when I talk like that. I told her I'm thinking long-term, that I have a right to my share. That if my sister owns property, a house with equity, land that appreciates, then family assets aren't just theoretical, they exist, and siblings don't get to pretend we're isolated islands. She said her house is hers. I said legally, yes, but morally, we were raised under the same roof. Our parents poured into both of us. She benefited from that foundation. So did I. I'm not claiming ownership of her walls. I'm saying family wealth isn't just sentimental. My wife asked if I'd demand she sell it to pay my loans. I said I'm asking her to restructure temporarily. Sell, rent cheaper, or move back home. Help stabilize things, then rebuild. She said that sounds like you want her to downgrade her life because yours shrank. I didn't like that phrasing. I told her this isn't about envy. It's about solidarity. When she got pregnant and refused to terminate, the whole family absorbed that shock. We all adjusted. My parents supported her longer than she admits. We all carried that. Now I'm asking for support, and suddenly I'm manipulative. My wife asked quietly, did we really carry it, or did she? I didn't answer that. Instead, I said something I'd been thinking but hadn't said out loud. that as her brother, I have a stake in how she manages family assets, that if she thrives while I'm drowning and refuses to extend a hand, then she's choosing independence over kinship. My wife said that sounds like ownership. I said it's blood. She's been distant since. 2 weeks ago, I messaged my sister directly. I laid out my financial numbers, high level, not every detail, and proposed a plan. If she contributes X amount monthly for 12 months, I stabilize loan interest and avoid default penalties. I told her I'd draft a repayment schedule once contracts resume. She responded by asking for full financial transparency, bank statements, loan documents, partner agreements. And this is where it crossed a line, a written agreement that I would not contact her son without her presence. Like I'm a predator, I told her that's insulting, that I love my nephew, I don't hate children. I hate what that moment represented, the chaos, the way our family derailed, the sense that responsibility became optional. She said a 5-year-old wasn't a symbol. She said he was a person, I know that. I'm not a monster, I don't wake up resenting kids. I coach my son's team, I pack lunches. I work myself sick to keep a roof over them, but I am allowed to be angry at what decisions do to structures. She didn't respond after that. Instead, I heard through my mother that she consulted a lawyer, not to sue me, just to understand options if I continue pressuring or speaking to her child in ways she deems harmful. So now I'm apparently a liability. My mother tried to visit her after that. My sister didn't open the door, didn't let her see my nephew, said she needs space from manipulation. My mother cried to me about losing access to her grandson, and I could hear the unspoken thing, this is your fault. Everything circles back to me. Karim requested we pause equipment expansion, which means revenue stalls longer, which means interest compounds. The private lender called twice this week. Not threatening yet, just a reminder. And here's where I might have crossed something internally. I told my sister in a final message that if she continues refusing support while benefiting from family infrastructure, including the future inheritance she expects, then I will formally request our parents document asset distribution now. Transparency for everyone. She called that extortion. It's not, it's clarity. If she wants separation, then let's formalize separation. She replied with one line, you don't get to rewrite history as a debt. That line stuck because I don't think I'm rewriting anything. I think I'm naming what she refuses to acknowledge, that choices ripple outward. Last night my wife asked me something that actually unsettled me. She said, if your sister had failed the way your business did, would you have sold our house to help her? I said that's hypothetical. She said, answer it. And I realized I don't know. I want to say yes. I want to say I would have stepped up. But there's a part of me that resented how much oxygen her pregnancy took from the family narrative back then. A part that felt like I had to overperform to restore order. That part of me is loud right now. My nephew apparently refuses to attend a family holiday if I'm there. I heard that from my father, who sounded tired in a way I haven't heard before. He said I turned a financial crisis into a moral war. Maybe I did, but I don't hate my nephew. I hate what that year symbolized, unpredictability, instability, my parents looking smaller in front of others. I built my identity around being the stable son, the one who did it correctly, the one who gave them pride without caveats. Now my business is shaky, my name feels unstable in the community, my partner is cautious, my wife is distant, my mother is cut off from her grandson, and my sister owns a house she refuses to leverage while telling people I'm cruel. And somehow I'm supposed to just absorb that quietly. I don't think I'm wrong about family responsibility. I might have handled pieces badly. The inheritance comment maybe should have stayed private. The fundraiser moment should have been addressed differently, but I am not a child-hating monster. I'm a man who made a calculated risk that failed and asked his sibling to stand beside him. Continuation. I told my father he should sell the old warehouse. I didn't suggest it lightly. I laid it out, numbers, market value, liquidity. I told him holding onto idle property while his son is suffocating under interest doesn't make sense. Assets are meant to move when family needs them to. He looked at me like I'd asked him to amputate something. That warehouse has been sitting there for years, empty half the time, maintenance costs, property taxes. It's sentimental, not strategic. I told him that. I said if we liquidate it now, clear my private loan and stabilize the business, I can rebuild. We all win. He said he won't sell property to fund volatility. Volatility. That word stayed with me, because what he meant was me. My mother tried to soften it. She said they've already helped before. She brought up my first expansion attempt 5 years ago, the one that didn't scale the way I predicted. I recovered from that. I paid everything back, but they remember it like a stain. They said they can't keep dipping into their security every time I miscalculate. I told them this isn't every time. This is one major push that hit resistance. That happens in business. You don't abandon your son because permits stall and contracts shift. My father said supporting me doesn't mean underwriting risk. I'm not a stranger asking for capital. I'm his son. He said he already chose once when he supported my sister staying home pregnant. He said that nearly fractured the family. He won't repeat emotional decisions tied to pride. That felt like a slap. So now helping her back then was emotional, but helping me now is reckless. He said selling the warehouse would mean shrinking their retirement cushion. I said, what's the point of a cushion if your child is drowning? He said drowning implies no agency. I left before I said something worse. A week later, I found out he met with a lawyer, not to sell, to revise estate documents. He didn't tell me directly. My mother slipped. She said they're simplifying future distribution to avoid conflict. When I pushed, he admitted he's restructuring so that certain assets are locked and cannot be leveraged pre-distribution, meaning I can't pressure, negotiate, or influence timing. He basically removed my ability to even argue. He said it's to protect family harmony. Family harmony already cracked. Then the letter came from my sister's attorney. Restraining order request. Temporary. Grounds, harassment, emotional distress, indirect reputational harm, because I sent structured financial proposals, because I asked for transparency, because I said inheritance implications exist. Apparently my attempt at clarity is intimidation. The order isn't criminal, it's preventative. I'm not allowed to contact her directly, not allowed to approach her property. No third-party messaging through extended family about her finances. I sat in my truck staring at that paper for 20 minutes. I am not violent. I have never touched her. I have never threatened her physically. I said harsh words years ago in anger. I've owned that. I told her I was frustrated. I clarified I don't hate her son. I said I love him. I forgave her for the past. I said, let's move forward. Apparently forgiveness only works one direction. My wife saw the letter and something shifted in her face. Not fear, something colder, evaluation. She asked me if I understood how this looks. I said it looks like my sister weaponizing paperwork because she can't win an argument. My wife said it looks like escalation. Then she packed a bag. She said she needs space. She took the kids to her sister's house, said it's temporary. She hasn't answered my calls in 3 days. I've left messages explaining that this is stress talking, that the restraining order is an overreaction, that I'm fighting for stability for our family, that once the loans stabilize, everything will calm down. No response. Karim pulled out formally yesterday. He offered to buy my share at a loss. He said investors don't like litigation clouds, even civil ones, even temporary ones. He said perception matters, so now my partner is gone. My father locked assets. My sister went no contact legally. My wife left with the kids, and everyone keeps acting like I detonated something intentionally. No one is acknowledging that I am in a financial vice. Interest doesn't care about feelings. Lenders don't pause because siblings are sensitive. My parents brought up my previous failed business again during our last call. My father said patterns matter. He said I take calculated risks but underestimate downside exposure. He said I have ambition but not enough insulation. That hurt more than the restraining order. Because it means he sees me as unreliable. I built my identity around being the stable one, the son who married properly, the son provided grandchildren inside structure, the son who did things in order. And now when I ask for reinforcement during contraction, I'm treated like volatility incarnate. My mother said maybe this is a season of humility. Humility doesn't pay interest. She said maybe forcing your sister to sell her house isn't humility either. I told her I never forced her. I proposed shared restructuring. If I have to downgrade temporarily, why can't she? Why is her mortgage sacred while my loans are irresponsible? She said because she didn't ask you to co-sign her life. That's not the point. Family isn't transactional until it suddenly is. My sister paints me as obsessed with her house. I'm not obsessed. I'm practical. Equity sitting idle while your brother negotiates penalties is inefficient. And yes, I drafted that document calculating historical support. Utilities, food, housing. I wanted to show symmetry. That if she insists on separation, then let's quantify everything. My wife saw it on my laptop before she left. She said it made her uncomfortable. I said accountability often does. She said it feels like you're trying to turn childhood into an invoice. I said I'm responding to her lawyer. You want me passive while she files paperwork. Silence. Before she packed, she asked me something I haven't shaken. She said, if this collapses, will you still believe you were right? I told her right and wrong don't disappear because outcomes hurt, but I don't know if that landed the way I meant. After the fundraiser fallout, I made that donation to the youth trade program, in my nephew's name, not as a jab, as a correction. I love kids, I mentor apprentices. I don't despise children. I despise instability disguised as bravery. People called it performative. Fine. Everything is performative when someone else narrates it. My son hasn't spoken to me directly since they left. My wife lets him send one-word texts. Good night. Okay. Nothing else. I asked her if she's considering separation. No answer. Meanwhile, the private lender shortened my repayment window after hearing Karim exited. He said he doesn't like turbulence. My father called yesterday and said until things stabilize, I'm not to approach him about asset liquidation again. He said if I continue pressuring, he'll limit contact for his own peace. So I'm the aggressor now. He said we won't mortgage our retirement because you refuse to downsize your pride. I told him I'm already downsizing everything except my spine. He didn't laugh. My sister's restraining order hearing is next month. My lawyer says it will likely be formalized because judges favor caution when children are cited, so now I will legally be barred from approaching my own sister's life, all because I asked for support, and because I said one sentence years ago in frustration. She tells people she's protecting her son. From what? A conversation. A debate about family responsibility. I've clarified repeatedly that I don't hate the boy. I hate what that year represented, the way my parents shrank socially, the way I had to reassure my in-laws that we weren't chaotic. I forgave her for that chaos. I moved on. I built. I didn't hold it over her for years. I didn't ask her for repayment for embarrassment. But when I need stabilization, she becomes independent, sovereign, and untouchable, and everyone applauds her boundaries. My wife says maybe the reason no one understands me is because I frame everything as obligation. Maybe, but obligations are what keep structures intact. Without them, everything is just preference. Right now, preference is winning. Preference to keep property. Preference to avoid discomfort. Preference to distance from me. My father chose savings over his son. My sister chose independence over blood. My wife chose space over solidarity. Karim chose optics over partnership. And I'm supposed to sit quietly and reflect on tone. I am tired of being treated like a cautionary tale instead of a man under pressure. I cleared my stance. I apologized for the delivery. I clarified love for my nephew. I offered structured repayment. I offered documentation. I even said I would publicly retract the inheritance comment if she met halfway. She responded with court paperwork. So yes, I'm done, not theatrically, not dramatically, just done pouring effort into people who reinterpret every move as manipulation. If my father wants to lock assets, fine. If my sister wants legal distance, fine. If my wife needs to test life without me, she can. I won't beg, I won't chase. I won't contort myself to fit their version of accountability. There's a point where fighting for family turns into begging for recognition. I'm past that. Right now I have lenders calling, a partner gone, a hearing scheduled, and a house that feels too quiet. And I don't feel love the way I used to, not warmth, just calculation. If that makes me cold in their story, so be it. I asked for support. They chose insulation, and I'm done pretending that doesn't change how I see them.